Hello everyone and welcome back to another video on the 30-day film challenge series that I've been doing on the channel, and today I'm going to be talking about The Prompt, which is a film that made you angry. And originally I was going to choose BlacKkKlansman for fairly obvious reasons. The ending of that film, if that doesn't piss you off, then you're the problem. You really are. But I'm not going to talk about that movie today because it's not streaming anywhere, unfortunately. It was on HBO for the longest time, but it's not there anymore, so I couldn't rewatch it for this film, or for this review. So instead, I watched Jaws, which I know, Jaws is my pick for the film that makes you angry, which I will explain that in a bit. But first of all, I've watched it twice in the past, 3 weeks, because I got the 4K Blu-ray last, June 2nd, so about a month ago, and I watched it then, and then I watched it on July 4th, because it's such a perfect July 4th movie, and I think you guys know where I'm getting at, why this movie pisses me off sometimes. Not really, but so I wanted to talk about Jaws, because I've been watching it a lot, and I watched Jaws 2 for the first time ever yesterday, which that movie is just fine. You know, you're missing the team dynamic, which I love so much about the first Jaws, and you're missing Steven Spielberg desperately in that movie, but it's an okay, fun movie. But Jaws is one of the greatest adventure movies ever made. I love Jaws. So if you have not seen Jaws, spoilers of course, but I'm assuming all of you guys have, because come on, it's Jaws. So what is Jaws about? Well, it's pretty simple. It's about a shark attack on Amity Island, and it's about Chief Brody trying to convince his small little town to actually take this event seriously, which, let's just jump right into why this movie pissed me off my most recent watch. It's because we are in the middle of a global pandemic, and our country is treating it exactly how the mayor of Amity Island is treating the shark attacks. That's right, he's just saying, oh, everything's fine, go to the beaches, get in the water, you know, we found a shark and we got rid of the shark and the shark is gone, everything is fine, we need to make money now, please, because our economy is dying. No, you need to protect the people. So many people die in this movie because the idiotic mayor pisses me off. But that's what this movie's about. It's about politicians, and it's about how they're ignorant, and how all they care about is their economy and how their money running in, and their town having the 4th of July, one of the biggest money-making events in this town's, you know, every yearly events. That's the yearly event for Amity Island, is 4th of July, where most of the tourists come in and they all celebrate on the beaches, the beautiful beaches of Amity Island, which, to be fair, is beautiful. But when you have a poor little kid dying on the beach, it's tragic, and that is one of my favorite scenes in this film, but it's the most heartbreaking. It's the first shark attack, when you get that epic dolly zoom that is just one of the best uses of that camera move ever. But when that kid gets taken, and when his mom walks up to the beach and she's calling his name, and he's the only one not there, and it's a heartbreaking scene. I believe that the dog gets it too, which is unfortunate, because, you know, you never kill a dog in a movie unless there's a really impactful reason. I guess it's not too much of an impactful reason, but that's the first indication that there is a shark in the waters, at least at this point in the movie. But like I said, my favorite aspect of this film is that team dynamic between Brody, Quint, and Hooper, which all three of these characters are brilliant. And I'm not going to go super in-depth, because all of what I'm about to say is taken from this awesome video I saw from Lessons from the Screenplay, which talks about the team dynamic and how these characters are used, and how each of them have their own little pitfalls that prevent them from actually being able to take down the shark on their own. So essentially what this video is saying is every character has its own flaw. Brody, at least this is my interpretation as well, kind of a mixture of the two, but Brody is a little bit too careful. You know, he's afraid of the water. He doesn't really... He's not the one to take down a shark, you know? He's a great cop, and he's excellent at figuring these things out, and he has really great judgment, but he's a little bit too careful and a little bit too cautious, because he's just afraid of the water, and he's not in a comfort zone whatsoever. Quint, however, is definitely in his comfort zone, but he is a little too reckless. Obviously, he breaks the radio device, which when Brody tries to call back to Amity Island, he destroys it and prevents them from getting any extra help. He's a little self-centered and kind of... He thinks he can do everything on his own, and that's his biggest pitfall. And Hooper is a little too curious. You know, when about halfway through the movie, when they cut open the shark, which is a great scene, Hooper is my favorite character in this film, because Richard Dreyfuss is so funny as his character. When you first see him on the docks, and he says, all these guys are going to die because they're going out there, so many people on this boat, and they're all being reckless and idiotic. And when he sees a shark, and he's like, I'm telling you, man, if we cut this baby open and we see what's inside, then we can find out for sure if this is the shark. But the truth is, the bite radius does not match that of the victims, which is one of my favorite lines in the entire film. And it just, man, it did really, tenses you up because, man, if that's not the shark, that's bad. And obviously you know it's not the shark because you still have half a movie to go. But when they go out on the water at night, and he like I said, he's a little too curious. He's like, we need to go out right now in the middle of the night to try to find this shark. Not a great plan, but when he finds that other boat and he decides to get in his diving gear and go down there, when that head pops through that little broken area in the boat, that is one of the best jump scares in this movie, but not the best jump scare. But he's a little too curious. Same thing with when he goes down in the shark cage at the end of the movie, when he thinks that he can inject this neutralizer to the shark in through his mouth, which is, I guess, an okayish plan, but I mean, they're dealing with a 30-foot long great white, which is a terrible idea to go do this. But you know, he's a little too curious, he's a little too scientific, and he doesn't know, he's an expert in sharks, but he doesn't have that gut and the bravery that Quint has. Even though he's reckless, he doesn't have that aspect to him, and he's also a little too curious, whereas, you know, Brody's a little too careful. But by the end of the film, when Brody's getting through all this stuff, he kind of gains aspects from both Quint and from both Hooper, and he learns these things, and by the end of the movie, he's able to outsmart everybody else in the film and take out the shark by blowing him up, which is, again, another awesome moment in this film. It's just pumps you up, and these characters, their team dynamic and how they work and how they like banter back and forth, especially in that scene where, you know, it's nighttime in the boat and they're telling stories about their scars, and then it gets a little serious with the USS Indianapolis, I think is what the boat was called. The Quint's story, his monologue is incredible. I know all these things have been raved about before, but I just have to keep on adding on to that because it's these characters and this story that makes this movie stand out above every single other shark movie ever made. Oh, and I can't believe I didn't mention John Williams. His score makes this movie great, along with Steven Spielberg. That combination of John Williams and Spielberg makes this movie above everything else that's been made in the genre, and it's so well crafted. The score, the adventure theme, while also having the Jaws theme, you know, the theme that you know that really frightens you and that tenses you up. But that adventure theme is my favorite aspect of the score, and he does an excellent job in this film, as he does in every movie that he ever scores. Now, I'll say the closest thing to Jaws for me in terms of underwater type horror monster movie type thing is Crawl, which came out, was it last year or was it 2018? I think it was 2018. But that movie is really fun, and it has a little bit of heart, and it's a fun hurricane with alligator movie, which sounds a lot more ridiculous than it is, but that concept works very well in that film because it's very well directed, and Steven Spielberg directs the crap out of this movie. And Jaws 2 suffered mainly because of the script and those teenagers that's in that film that is just awful, and you're missing the team dynamic. But you can very much tell that Spielberg is not behind the camera, because every shot in this film is expertly crafted. When the camera zooms through the shark's mouth as they're adventuring out into sea, or just as they're falling through those fences on that ridge where the first victim dies, so well directed, so well crafted, and just everything about this film. The fact that the shark broke and he was still able to figure out a way to avoid showing the shark for the majority of this film and keep the suspense up. And there are just so many happy accidents that happen on the set of this movie that just led it all into a great point. And I know that this is my pick for a movie that makes me angry. I love this movie. It pumps me up. I wasn't originally going to talk about it, but after watching it twice in the past month, I love Jaws. It's my favorite Spielberg movie. It's one of my favorite adventure movies. It has some of my favorite characters of all time, but it still stands that our world is pretty much exactly what is in this film, where, you know, they just want money, and they leave the beaches open, and it just causes a poor little kid to die, and it's sad. And yeah, this film in that way pisses me off. But I love Jaws. I'm sure you guys all do too. So comment down below in the comment section what you guys think of this movie. What is your pick for a film that pisses you off, that makes you angry? I'm curious to hear what you guys think. I have a documentary out right now about amateur hour films. I released it yesterday, and people are loving it. I worked so hard on this documentary, so go check that out as well. Thanks guys for watching. Subscribe to the channel to see more videos in this series, and I hope to see you all in my next one.